Now at 11, the polls are closed and the ballots are being counted.
There's a lot of people dying for us to get to this point.
The results are coming in. From the race for the White House,
we're going to have a great night, and we're going to have, much more importantly, we're going to have a great 4 years.
There's just so much in play right now, and there's such overwhelming vote out there. We'll see.
To your local races, 13 News Now is your station for election coverage on this historic night. Today, millions of Americans turned out to perform their civic duty. In Virginia and North Carolina, the lines were short and sweet after record numbers of early voters. But now the polls are closed and election officials are starting the important and difficult task of tabulating the ballots. And already some winners have been announced. Thank you for trusting 13 News Now at 11. I'm David Allen.
And I'm Nicole Livis. As we go over the numbers, we just want to be clear here. A lot of these do not include absentee votes or early voting numbers at this time. Tonight we are bringing you 30 minutes of election coverage, no breaks. But we can't do this by ourselves. Our crews are stationed across the area to bring you important updates, useful information, and political insight. We
start tonight with the race to 270. It's a math game to get to the White House. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are watching closely as the Electoral College numbers slowly come in. Currently, Joe Biden is leading. These are all based on preliminary results, not certified results. The winning candidate needs 270 electoral votes to call 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue home. In Virginia, there are 13 electoral votes up for grabs. The AP called the Commonwealth early for Joe Biden. Battleground state North Carolina has 15 electoral votes. After a chaotic campaign schedule, the candidates are keeping things simple tonight. Biden at his home in Wilmington, Delaware. President Trump is spending election night at the White House.
No, I'm not thinking about concession speech or acceptance speech yet. Hopefully, we'll be only doing one of those two. And you know, winning is easy. Losing is never easy. Not for me, it's not.
President Trump and his campaign are aware that he has to do well tonight in swing states like North Carolina. This morning, his campaign sent out a lot of text messages and push alerts urging his supporters to get out there and vote. The Biden campaign still has a number of paths to 270.
You heard me use the line today several times. Presidents can't determine what votes counted or not counted. And, you know, voters determine who's president.
And while the Biden camp is hoping for victory, the staff knows anything can happen tonight. In 2016, Trump trailed in most of the polls and still came out on top after winning in the Electoral College. We'll have more on the presidential race throughout this newscast. Let's get to some of the big local races. Early tonight, the Associated Press called the U.S. Senate race in Virginia for the incumbent, Mark Warner. Warner faced a political newcomer in Republican Daniel Gade. Another big race we're following is the heated rematch between incumbent Democratic Congresswoman Elaine Luria and Republican Scott Taylor. An independent candidate, David Foster, is also in the mix. They are vying for Virginia's 2nd congressional district. We have team coverage following both campaigns tonight. Allison Basil is with the Scott Taylor camp, but we start with Adriana de Alba, who is focusing on Congresswoman Luria's campaign. Adriana.
Hey, good evening, David. Well, it's a pretty quiet night in this room. Luria is expected to come here and give remarks. That's if the race is called tonight, but that's looking more and more unlikely because remember, we're still pretty early in the game with this. The results are still coming in, and so far, only about 44% of the total votes expected in this race have been counted. And the Virginia Beach Registrar tells us those votes are from people who voted in person today, by and large. So while the numbers show Taylor in the lead right now, we still have to get those results from absentee voting and early person voting. So at this point, nearly 171,000 early in-person votes and absentee ballots still need to be counted in this race. So the Virginia Department of Elections Commissioner says localities will count absentee votes until 11 p.m. tonight and release a vast majority of those results. Our political analyst Quentin Kidd anticipates the vast majority of the vote is going to be reported late tonight or tomorrow for this race. So earlier today, we talked to Luria about how she felt heading into election night.
I'm feeling very energized. You know, our team has worked really hard over the last 2 years, and we've, brought back a lot for this district. The president just signed my 8th bill into law.
And again, like you can see behind me, not much of a party here going on. It's just me, a few reporters. Earlier we saw one member of Luria's staff, but very quiet here. The big message with this race tonight is be patient because those results are still coming in. For now, live in Virginia Beach, Adriana de Alba, 13 News Now.
All right, Adriana, thank you for that. Allison Basil picks up our team coverage. She joins us live at the Westin in Virginia Beach, where the Taylor campaign is waiting for those results.
Yes, David, Scott Taylor actually just walked up to the podium just minutes ago, so I'm going to step out of the way. He's addressing supporters right now. His watch party is being jointly hosted by the Virginia Beach Republican Watch Party. Once he got up there, Taylor told the audience that they feel good about this race. He's currently in the lead, but as we've said before, cities reporting results so far aren't including early voting results. Virginia Beach is only reporting today's numbers right now, so the results aren't official yet. We've moved outside of the ballroom, as you saw, because there's a large crowd inside with little room for social distancing, and not too many supporters are wearing masks. Mayor Bobby Dyer, School Board member Vicki Manning, and Councilman Michael Berlucci are just a few candidates who have already stepped up to the podium as well. Taylor says he's feeling confident about this race.
This turnout's been fantastic, which I think is good for no matter what side of the aisle you're on. I think it's great for people to make their voices heard and get out and vote. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about our turnout, and I think we're going to have a good night tonight.
And of course, we're going to bring you updates from Taylor's speech on 13newsnow.com. Live in Virginia Beach, Allison Basil, 13 News Now.
The races for the White House and for Virginia's 2nd District are huge for our area. Mike Gooding is here tonight with 13 News Now political analyst Quentin Kidd to add some perspective for us. Hey, Mike.
Well, hey, Nicole. I'm reminded tonight of a quote from Donald Rumsfeld, the former Secretary of Defense, when he said, "We don't know what we don't know." And that's kind of where we stand right now, Quentin, is especially in this presidential race. It was called in Virginia at 7:37 p.m. for Joe Biden. Right. But yet, to look at the numbers right now, it's 52% to 45% in favor of Trump in Virginia. So we don't know.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's based upon modeling. It's based upon exit polling. It's based upon the reality that is, for every one vote cast today, there were 2 votes cast early, and many of those early votes that were cast won't be counted. Even my understanding is that election officials stopped counting at 11 o'clock. They've gone home for the night. They're going to come back tomorrow morning, and they're going to pick up counting again. So it'll be tomorrow, mid-morning, noon, maybe early afternoon. And to remind viewers, this is unprecedented. We haven't had this kind of early voting, absentee voting in Virginia like ever. The laws changed on July 1st that allowed no excuse absentee voting, and that changed everything for Virginia. The coronavirus encouraged more people to vote absentee. The campaign started encouraging people to vote absentee, and so we've got absentee voting numbers in Virginia like we've never seen before. And so, as unsatisfying as it is for viewers watching this broadcast right now, and as it is for political analyst and political reporter to try to be discerning what any of this means, the reality is, the more of these early voters, the more participation in the democratic process, and you as a political science professor must like that. Oh yeah, I think we're going to set a turnout record in Virginia. If we do, 84% will be a record in modern times, and I think we'll get close to that, and that's a good thing. More people voting, better for democracy. And this was in some ways also driven by COVID, right? Yeah, I think initially people were voting early. I think a large number of people voted early absentee because of health concerns. The campaigns also encouraged it. So it was a combination of both, but I think the health issues are what drove a lot of it. Well, we shall see as the votes are counted. Yeah. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike and Quentin, and we will check back in with you a little bit later. But for now, let's head over to Brian Farrell for the latest local results. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nicole, and we're going to start off. We have the 2nd Congressional District pulled up again, just to say everything you're seeing is preliminary. These are numbers that are coming in that have already been counted tonight. Obviously, a lot's not been counted. When you hear us talk about a winner in some cases, it's really a projected winner based off of the Associated Press. So again, nothing's official until any of this is certified. But let's just take a look. We talked about the 2nd Congressional District. You can see how the numbers break down right now for that. Now, what I want to do is we'll zoom in a little bit closer here to get into the Hampton Roads area, because let's forget, or not forget, I should say, that we've got other congressional districts where there are races going on. Bobby Scott right now in the lead, John Collick, 46, approaching 47% as he kind of inches that way with that 0.3. But Bobby Scott right now, incumbent Democrat, in the lead. Let's take a look and get off of that one and take a look. Rob Whitman. In this case, you can see a big gap between the two there. He has been declared the winner by the AP. Again, not official, but the AP has said that Rob Whitman has again won re-election in that case. Let's just zoom out a little bit and let's move on to this one. Mark Warner, we were talking about this, and you can kind of see the breakdown here. Again, it has been called for him, but the numbers right now don't reflect that. But what we can see is, based on the numbers that have come in, how each city and each county has really gone in our general area. Let's wrap up with one more. We do want to say Roy Cooper has been declared the winner of governor in North Carolina, so he again is the incumbent and will be returning to office if all of that holds true and those results are certified. David.
All right, Brian, thanks. We still have a lot to get to tonight. In the next 10 minutes, we'll go over 3 key things. First, some minor problems at Hampton Roads polling locations. Second, in Virginia Beach, incumbent Bobby Dyer and businesswoman Jody Wagner in the battle to be the next mayor. And third, where the 6-way race for mayor in Portsmouth stands right now. But first to Virginia Beach. Investigative reporter Evan Watson is live at the convention center where election workers just finished counting for tonight. And Evan, what have we learned about the results?
Well, Virginia Beach reports a voter turnout of 71% at least right now and says that could rise to 80%. But the big story at the moment, we are still waiting on those early votes and absentee votes. That's what's called the CAP, Central Absentee Precinct. Most Virginia Beach voters cast their ballots early this election, either in person or through the mail. Election workers have been counting these votes all night, just stopping at 11 p.m., but the current results don't include these numbers right now. Election workers just passed that state mandated 11 p.m. cutoff. Preliminary results should be coming soon. Virginia Department of Elections Commissioner Chris Piper says voters should be patient, but soon they'll see a majority of the results come in.
I believe the best thing we can say is that in a lot of cases, I think that the CAP is usually the last thing that they'll report because they want to ensure that they process the absentee ballots that came in today, either by mail or at the drop-off locations in the polling places in the general registrar's office. So typically you'll see that as the last thing reported.
A reminder again, tonight's election results are not final. Elections are never certified on election night, and election workers will continue working until Friday afternoon to process all the absentee ballots. And I did confirm with Virginia Beach Registrar Donna Patterson, the numbers you're seeing online at the moment, those are from today's in-person votes, not the early votes or the absentee votes that we were just talking about in the CAP. Those will come soon. Reporting live in the Virginia Beach Convention Center, Evan Watson for 13 News Now.
Can't say it too many times. Thanks, Evan. As a whole, we didn't hear of too many major issues with voting in our area today, but there were a few minor problems. Let's run through them now. First, an unusual one in James City County. Election officials say ballots were not accepted into the machines, some of them because the new disinfecting spray they used to clean the voting booths wasn't drying as quickly as they thought. They offered voters the chance to fill out a new ballot or drop theirs in an emergency ballot bin, and they assured us all votes will be counted either by the machines or by election officers.
In Norfolk, a man is behind bars tonight after authorities say he threatened to bomb a polling place. The Norfolk Fire Marshal's office went to Walter Heron Taylor Elementary School in West Kent for a disturbance today. Officers arrested a 63-year-old man and booked him into the jail. They didn't give us his name or give us any more information. We're told, though, he will face a judge tomorrow.
And in North Carolina, some polling places stayed open past the 7:30 closing time because of minor issues that disrupted voting. The 6 locations were in Warren, Cabarrus, and Sampson counties. The State Board of Elections kept those polls open longer to make up the lost time. They say this isn't unusual.
Let's head to Virginia Beach. Mayor Bobby Dyer is running for re-election against Jody Wagner and Richard Kowalowicz. Eugene Daniel is following the Wagner campaign for us, but Megan Shin starts our live team coverage as Bobby Dyer waits for results at the Westin in Town Center. Megan.
David, Nicole, we are at the Westin in Town Center. This is the same location
where the Virginia Beach Republican Party Watch event is happening. Mayor Bobby Dyer and his wife are both inside the crowd. We're on the exterior right now. And as of right now, Mayor Dyer is ahead of the other two candidates by thousands of votes. Remember, those results, though, are still incomplete. But Dyer ran his campaign on the promise of community and unity. He says he wants the country to see Virginia Beach as a template for the nation and how a community can come together through adversity. Over the past few years, he faced extreme highs and lows with the mass shooting at the Virginia Beach Municipal Center and the inaugural Something in the Water Festival. Dyer says he wants to work with the city police and wants to improve Virginia Beach schools. During a speech minutes ago, Dyer took the stage saying this election is more than a local and national defining moment. It's preventing a socialist movement by, quote, the radical left.
And we will not allow that to happen. And we are a safe city, and you have a mayor that will never, ever tell a police chief, stand down. Ain't gonna happen.
Now, Dyer says he will hold a unity event for the community if he wins the re-election for mayor for Virginia Beach City Council. Live in Virginia Beach, Megan Shin, 13 News Now.
All right, Jody Wagner is a former lawyer turned business owner. Her campaign focused on the city's economy and wanting to help create new businesses. Eugene Daniel joins us live from Virginia Beach with a look at her campaign. Eugene.
Yeah, Jody Wagner remains hopeful. She and a very small group of supporters are waiting out the results here at her Virginia Beach office, opting for a more intimate setting. Now, the former state treasurer and small business owner says she's seen the early numbers, but she is still confident in her chances once those early and mail-in ballots are counted. As you just said, Wagner's campaign focusing on improving Virginia Beach's economy, and she says after talking to voters today, she's feeling good. Not just today, though, but over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. I feel very good about today. And I feel very good about but what I feel better about is the past 45 days. Because there were lines at every early voting place for 45 days. First at the registrar's office and then at the 5 early voting places. And I know that the majority of those people were Democrats. And I'm hoping that those Democrats voted for me.
Now, before coming here, she spent most of the day visiting polling locations and says that her interactions were positive, not only with Democrats, but also with Republicans. In Virginia Beach, Eugene Daniel, 13 News Now.
And we are still waiting for the official results in the Portsmouth mayoral race. As it stands, Danny Meeks has the most votes. He was up against 5 candidates, including 2 members currently serving on city council. Allie Weatherton is live in Portsmouth with details. Hey, Allie.
Hey, Nicole, like you mentioned, Portsmouth has not yet counted the absentee ballots, but right now it's looking good for Danny Meeks. He has about 35% of the votes. He watched those results come in the Virginia Department of Elections website at his campaign party tonight. So far, it's reporting 31 out of 32 precincts. If Meeks wins the Portsmouth mayor seat, he plans to maintain the bond rating, support the schools as well as police, and create a technology zone to bring more jobs to the area. Meeks says he also supports the casino and will make sure it's successful. Now, Shannon Glover is also the runner-up at this moment with about 5,000 votes. Again, these numbers are not final because of the absentee ballots. They have not been counted yet, and we will keep following this story as it develops. Live in Portsmouth, Allie Weatherton, 13 News Now.
All right, thank you, Allie. We want to check back on the presidential race. Right now, Democrat Joe Biden leads President Trump in the Electoral College. Let's head back to Mike Gooding and 13 News Now political analyst Quentin Kidd with a look at those numbers.
Well, and David, you know, early in the night at 7:37 p.m., the Associated Press called Virginia for Joe Biden. But yet, at this second still, and this is the thing we've been stumped by, is Donald Trump is still ahead in Virginia, 52% to 46%, based upon the votes that have been tabulated so far. If this were to hold up, if Donald Trump were to capture Virginia, no Republican has won statewide elected office in Virginia since 2009.
Yeah.
This would be a seismic event, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it would undermine everything everybody thinks they understand about Virginia politically, where it is right now. It would be an earthquake. It would reestablish the landscape of politics in Virginia right now, as we know it right now. It would, all of us would be wondering what in the world we got wrong. It would mean that those shy Trump voters were out there in the legions. We never picked up a big chunk of shy Trump voters really in our polling, and so yeah, I'd have a hard time seeing that. I'm surprised they called Virginia as early as they did, but I think at the end of the day, when we get those early votes in, the numbers are going to change in Virginia. That's just where Virginia is now.
Donald Trump lost Virginia to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago by 5 percentage points.
That's right.
Your last poll in Virginia a week ago had Donald Trump losing Virginia to Joe Biden by 12 percentage points.
Right.
But yet, here we are.
Yeah, again, just to reiterate, for every vote that we're seeing right now, there are about 2 votes that haven't been reported yet. So we're seeing a snapshot, and it's a snapshot that tends to lean Republican right now because Republicans were more likely to be Election Day voters. Democrats are more likely to be early voters. It's the early vote totals that are coming in later.
And we have no guarantee as to when those votes are going to be tabulated.
No guarantee. Sometime tomorrow.
We hope.
We hope.
Okay, for now, back to you.
All right, thanks, Mike. And Quentin, let's get a check of some local races with Brian Farrell. Brian?
David, and we're actually going to focus on the 2 referenda that we voted on here in Virginia. There were, again, 2 of them. The first one had to do with redistricting, and specifically, we talk about the gerrymandering and all that takes place in Virginia. What the question was asking is, should there be an actual commission that would be made up of several lawmakers and several private citizens who would essentially get together, redraw the districts for the state legislative purposes and also the congressional districts. So they would then make a decision, make a recommendation then to the General Assembly. If the General Assembly then shoots that down, it would go to the state Supreme Court. So again, it essentially said, hey, should we have this redistricting commission made up of lawmakers and private citizens? At this point, 66.6%, so a huge majority right there, have voted yes. That one, interestingly enough, has not gotten an official check mark from the AP as being a measure that has passed. This one, however, is, and this one's pretty simple. We all pay property tax. That includes veterans. That includes disabled veterans. The question on the ballot was, should disabled veterans or their spouses have to skip property tax on their vehicles? That one was pretty straightforward. Again, this one, 79 points, let's call it 80% versus 20%. So that one has passed the AP, rather, not ABC, but the AP has said that that one did officially pass. So again, 2 measures that all Virginians were asked to vote on today.
All right, Brian, thanks so much. Casinos could be on their way to Hampton Roads. Alex Littlehales is live with the latest numbers on this issue and local reaction. Alex.
Well, David, at this moment, with many precincts now reporting those early returns that we're seeing that local voters are saying yes more than no to about a 2-to-1 ratio. First, we'll take a look at the numbers in Norfolk, where more than half of the precincts are reporting those early returns, with roughly 66% of voters saying yes to a casino in Norfolk. This is a project that the Pamunkey Indian tribe is behind, and they have touted that it would bring jobs and tax revenue both to the city of Norfolk as well as the surrounding area. But they've been met with opposition from the Vote No campaign from Inform Norfolk. They are worried about the casino's greater impact. Take a listen.
Because many of the grievances that we have, if this casino goes through, will still be issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah, throughout the entire campaign, and it's reinforced today, the driving factor is what this will mean for the city of Norfolk. It's going to bring more than 6 million visitors.
Now, here are the numbers in Portsmouth. More than roughly all of the precincts actually in Portsmouth are reporting that roughly 68% of voters are voting yes for a casino in Portsmouth. That is an effort by Chicago-based company Rush Street Gaming. This casino would be on Victory Boulevard near downtown Portsmouth. We actually talked to one voter today who checked yes on that measure. Take a listen.
I voted yes. Okay. I think it will bring in some jobs and be good for the economy. And Portsmouth, I feel like, can really use kind of a leg up on things.
Again, these are not final numbers like we've been mentioning, but it is also important to note that people have been voting more yes than no, also to casinos both in Danville as well as Bristol City in Virginia. Reporting from Norfolk tonight, I'm Alex Littlehales, 13 News Now. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. We have a lot left to cover tonight. Here's a look at the next 10 minutes. A lot of states have a lot of precincts reporting already, but the results don't necessarily include those absentee or early votes. That's important. First, North Carolina has some big issues on the ballot. The latest on the race for governor there. Second, get an update on election night from across the country. And we'll get a final word from our political analyst.
All right, David, you mentioned North Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper has won re-election. It was a four-way race with incumbent Democratic Governor Roy Cooper and Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest leading the pack. Janet Roach is with us tonight with a closer look at the race. Hey, Janet.
Hello to you. Well, the polls showed Governor Cooper with a double-digit lead, but the results have him on top by 5%. The handling of the coronavirus pandemic is a big issue. Governor Roy Cooper has led the state during the outbreak, shutting down businesses and closing schools, all to try to stop the spread. But for voters who didn't agree, they preferred his opponent, Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest. North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor tried to appeal to business owners and parents who are dissatisfied with the slow recovery. Those efforts appear to have come up short. All right, in another race in the state Senate, Republican incumbent Bob Steinberg is vying for his District 1 seat. Democrat Tess Judge hopes to defeat him. Right now, Steinberg is ahead by almost 10 percentage points. People in northeastern North Carolina know Steinberg as the writer of the newspaper column A Conservative's Viewpoint. Judge is a businesswoman and community leader on the Outer Banks. She said she decided to run to make sure people have educational opportunities and better access to health care. North Carolina is once again a battleground state in this election season. We spoke with political analyst Quentin Kidd.
North Carolina's been close over the last 3 or 4 presidential elections.
North Carolina has become a battleground state. CNU professor of political science Quentin Kidd says that's based upon where a majority of the votes come from regionally.
In years where Republicans do really well, it's because rural North Carolina really shows up to vote. Urban North Carolina doesn't so much.
North Carolina turned blue in 2008 when urban and suburban voters showed up to vote for President Barack Obama. President Donald Trump won the state in 2016, and experts say he needs to keep it.
Donald Trump does not win North Carolina. He is almost assuredly not going to be president.
North Carolina State University political professor Stephen Green says the state's 15 electoral votes aren't essential to the Biden campaign because Biden leads in the battleground state of Arizona.
If Joe Biden does not win in North Carolina, he still has a lot of other opportunities.
Green says other races in North Carolina raise the stakes.
A lot of people think control of the United States Senate may very well come down to the Senate race in North Carolina, whether that's Cal Cunningham or the incumbent Republican Tom Tillis.
All right, breaking news in the race for Portsmouth mayor. The latest results just put Councilman Shannon Glover in the lead. Allie Weatherton is live with this update for us.
Hey, Nicole, yeah, a really big update. I was just on air 5 minutes ago saying they didn't read or count the absentee ballots. Well, when I got off air, I just checked again, and they did count all the absentee ballots. As it stands, all 32 precincts are reporting. And like you mentioned, this puts council member Shannon Glover in the lead with more than 15,000 votes, and Danny Meeks with about 12,000 votes. Shannon Glover was elected to council in 2018. He says he wants to lead this city in a bold new direction, focusing on education, public safety, business, and workforce development and infrastructure. Again, Glover is in the lead right now. This is a breaking news story. We'll have to get more details and pass it on to you. Live in Portsmouth, Allie Weatherton, 13 News Now.
All right, Allie, different states have different rules for when ballots can be counted. For many states, we're already seeing some preliminary results. In Arizona, Florida, and Minnesota, mail-in ballots can be counted before Election Day. So those results should come more quickly. In North Carolina and Ohio, ballots cannot be counted until today, but early in-person voting can be tabulated quickly, of course. So we could learn results from those states tomorrow night, tonight, but there's no guarantee. In Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, election officials are expecting results anywhere between 2 to 5 days after the election. The long, divisive road to the White House is nearing an end. The fight between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden to lead the nation, filled with personal attacks, fiery debates, and parallel visions for America's future. Janet Roach is here with a look at how election night went across the country.
Well, David, it all comes down to a few states. President Trump and Joe Biden are still battling over key states like Pennsylvania, Arizona, and North Carolina. With the raging coronavirus pandemic, economic uncertainty, and racial injustice, this election has been unlike any other in American history. President Trump and Joe Biden both campaigned down to the wire. Again tonight, the results we're seeing are all preliminary. It could be a couple of days before results are certified. 13 News Now will be there with you every step of the way as we learn more.
Janet, thank you. Brian Farrell is back now with one last update on the local numbers.
Yeah, and actually what we'll do is we'll kind of come off of Janet and just give you a look at the picture of the continental U.S. at this point, because remember, we've got Puerto Rico down there, we've got Alaska, Hawaii. They haven't even had any results come in yet. So right now, before you head off to bed, this is how things are shaping up with the numbers that have actually come in. In Virginia, when we talk about the presidential election, again, this one is very confusing for a lot of people, again, because the AP had projected that Joe Biden would be the winner. That is of right now, even though, or as of right now, I should say, even though as you look at this before you go to bed, 50.7%, 47.7%, with Biden trailing President Donald Trump. Again, very close there, though. So that is something to keep in mind. And one other thing we'll give you again as you head off, your local races, when we talk about Congressional District 2 here in Virginia, and of course Virginia Beach, Norfolk, other parts of the Hampton Roads area, Eastern Shore. Right now, Scott Taylor up by about 10%. We'll actually call that more 9%, it seems like at this point, or actually, I'm rounding the wrong way, 11%. So as you head off to bed, just know Congressional District 2, Scott Taylor is in the lead with the numbers that have come in again. And we're going to stress, and I know we'll probably repeat it one more time, these are all preliminary. Nothing is official until it's certified. We know a lot of ballots still will need to be counted.
All right, you mentioned that district. Scott Taylor just finished speaking to supporters. He's running against Democrat Elaine Luria. He lost the seat to her in 2018. Taylor says he's feeling good, but isn't getting his hopes up just yet since there are still so many uncounted ballots.
I know that we're up a lot, and people see that. People are like, congratulations. Not yet. It will narrow. I promise you that it will narrow. But we feel good. We feel good.
Taylor also expressed his support for President Trump during that speech.
If you stood in line to vote and are worried about being exposed to COVID-19, it's better be just safe than sorry. We have some chances, or there are some chances, rather, to get tested coming up. On Thursday, the Norfolk Public Health Department is holding a walk-up testing event. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Park Avenue near Norfolk State. To make an appointment, call 757-683-2777. Next week, there's a free testing event at the Accomack County Health Department. It's Monday, November 9th from 3 to 6 p.m. Both of these events are free.
And as our local election night coverage wraps up, we want to give the final word of the night to our 13 News Now political analyst, Quentin Kidd. He's with reporter Mike Gooding.
Well, and Nicole, 4 years ago, it was said by Quentin that President Trump drew a royal flush in the closing hours, that every close state in the end that could have gone towards Hillary ended up breaking towards Trump. And in some ways, at this moment, that's the way it looks, right? Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Texas, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. Prognosticators had all said early on that Biden could carry one or two of those states, but so far not.
Yeah, it looks like that blue wall, that mythical blue wall that Hillary Clinton couldn't hold, that's where the battle is going to come down to this time. And Arizona, the battleground state out west, if Joe Biden loses everything else that Hillary Clinton lost but picks up Arizona, that would be all he needs to win. So it may come down to a fight in Arizona.
And as of this second, Biden is ahead in Arizona by 8 points.
And Arizona's early vote would have been coming in already. Remember, we're ahead of Arizona in time. So by the time we wake up in the morning, we should know who's won Arizona.
So bottom line is we could wake up in the morning and have President-elect Joe Biden, or we could wake up in the morning and still have President Trump.
That's exactly right. We should know the final results in Virginia, by midday tomorrow, I would think, and that'll answer questions about the 2nd congressional district race, the U.S. Senate race. But North Carolina, 95% of the vote is in, and they've not called North Carolina. North Carolina is that close, and that we knew that was going to be a battleground state, and it really is turning out to be.
We just heard Scott Taylor said, I promise you it will narrow. And that might be the case in his race. Will it narrow enough in the presidential race in Virginia to flip things back over to Biden for Virginia?
Yeah, so my guess is that it will. That those early votes that have not been counted yet and reported yet are going to favor Biden over, and we're talking about several million, a couple million of them still. So that's a lot of votes that are still out.
Quentin, we thank you for all your insight tonight.
Yep.
Good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah.
Back to you all.
All right, and remember the Daybreakers will be up extra early tomorrow to recap any results that come in overnight. Tune into Daybreak at 4 a.m., 30 minutes earlier.